Hello! Have you ever noticed that Jesus never gave simple, straightforward answers? Instead, he responded with questions, parables, logic, and deep wisdom. This wasn't by accident. His method was a masterclass in teaching, persuasion, and revelation. Today we will explore how Jesus answered the toughest questions and why studying his approach can change the way we think. His words were not just about answering, but about guiding people toward deeper understanding, personal transformation, and spiritual growth. If we learn to apply Jesus' way of answering, we can become better at navigating discussions, understanding truth, and leading with wisdom. One of the most striking aspects of Jesus' teaching is that he often answered questions with questions. This technique forces the listener to think deeply and arrive at the truth themselves. When the Pharisees asked, "By what authority do you do these things?" Matthew 21:23-27, Jesus didn't give them a direct answer. Instead, he asked, "John's baptism, was it from heaven or from men?" They couldn't answer without exposing their own hypocrisy. Another example is when a rich young ruler asked, "Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Mark 10:17-18. Instead of responding immediately, Jesus replied, "Why do you call me good? No one is good, except God alone." He made the man reflect on who Jesus really was before giving him the answer. Jesus didn't just provide information. He led people to confront their own motives and beliefs, guiding them toward self-discovery and deeper truth. Rather than stating facts, Jesus often used parables, forcing people to engage and uncover deeper meaning. When a lawyer asked him, "Who is my neighbor?" Luke 10:25-37, Jesus could have given a simple definition. Instead, he told the parable of the Good Samaritan. At the end, he turned the question around and asked, "Who was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" The lawyer had to admit the answer himself. Similarly, when religious leaders criticized him for eating with sinners, he responded with the parable of the lost sheep, Luke 15:3-7, describing how a shepherd would leave 99 sheep to find the one that was lost. This was a way of showing God's love for every individual without directly arguing with his critics. Through parables, Jesus made people discover truth rather than just hearing it, making his teachings more powerful and memorable. Jesus also masterfully exposed double standards in his opponent's thinking. When the Pharisees tried to trap him by asking whether taxes should be paid to Caesar, Matthew 22:17-21, they thought they had him cornered. If he said yes, he would anger the Jews. If he said no, he could be arrested. But Jesus asked for a coin and simply said, "Whose image is on it?" When they answered Caesar's, he concluded, "Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." His response was both brilliant and unassailable. Another example is the story of the woman caught in adultery, John 8:3-11. The Pharisees brought her to Jesus, hoping to trap him. Instead of engaging directly in their argument, Jesus stooped down and wrote in the sand. Then he said, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." One by one they left, realizing their own sin. Jesus had a way of shifting the focus from external judgment to internal reflection, challenging people to see beyond their biases. Sometimes Jesus didn't respond at all. When he stood before Pilate, Pilate asked, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Matthew 27:11-14. Jesus answered briefly, then remained silent despite accusations. His silence spoke louder than words, fulfilling prophecy and leaving Pilate unsettled. There were many times when people demanded that he prove himself, asking for miraculous signs or logical proofs. Often Jesus chose not to respond, understanding that no answer would satisfy those who had already made up their minds. Sometimes, wisdom is knowing when not to respond. Silence can be a powerful message in itself. Jesus' way of answering questions wasn't just about words, it was about transformation. He used questions, parables, logic, and even silence to guide people toward truth. His method was not just a way of teaching, but a way of changing lives. This is why studying Jesus' responses is not only interesting, but life-changing. If we learn to respond to life's questions like Jesus did, we can think critically, engage in meaningful conversations without conflict, and lead with wisdom in our personal and spiritual lives. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Take care and stay inspired.